Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another fun week here with the IROC series as we take on Charlotte Motor
No,
Speedway.
Bryson.
My name is Cody Bird, joined today by Andre. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. I can never do it right, Andre. So,
That's all right. But yeah, we're here at Charlotte. It's going to be interesting. We're back on an oval. Last time we were at Rockingham, and that was, I would say, quite an eventful race. I think you would agree with that, Cody. It was kind of all over the place. Tire wear was a huge issue. I think going into this week, it's going to be a bit of an unknown as to what these guys are going to have to endure. I'm not sure exactly what the tire wear is going to be like, what their fuel mileage is going to be like, and I think that same question is what a lot of these drivers are asking because when it comes to these cars and the track combos we're putting them on, not a whole lot of prior knowledge or experience. So it's going to be a fun one for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And as you can see early on through practice, kind of a light field this week. Understand some guys had prior commitments, but here we are. Said we were never going to do a race under 8 people, but yet we're here to have some fun with these 6 guys. 6 of the best drivers on the track. You had some words about why Cameron Stone did not come.
Yeah, Cameron Stone is absent once again this week. He's been definitely the most in and out again driver of the IROC series. This week he's absent due to rage-induced hemorrhoids. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. He'll be probably back next week. We're going to have to wait and see, although I don't think we're going to be broadcasting next week. Cody has some things going on. But yeah, he's out of the race, and I think he was just kind of discouraged a little bit by his early performances. And when it comes to these short seasons, it happens. You have a few bad races to start, and you feel like there's not quite enough time to make up for it necessarily. But yeah, he's going to be absent as per usual. And while we do have a small field, it is kind of the regulars you would expect to see. Obviously, Bryson Hixenbaugh is here. Kevin Steele, I believe John Delaney is in the field as well. So there's going to be some good competition nonetheless.
Yeah, and we're currently riding on board with Bryson Hixenbaugh, who's going on an excursion through the infield currently, saying hi to some fans, signing some autographs. Pictures showed that he actually ran over a couple of campers, so we're going to have to see what Demarius Hickenbottom decides to do there in terms of penalty. But let's look at the points real quick, Andre. Oh, that's not the points.
Absolutely.
So currently, Jonathan Delaney has a 69 points so far through 4 races of the IROC. Very nice. Dustin Schwingle is second with 64. Kevin Steele is third with 55, and Bryson Hixenbaugh is fourth with 49. The next driver in the field would be Preston McRae, all the way down there, and if I can count right, in ninth place, we have Craig Fryer, who is in 10th, and I believe that is everybody that is here today. So, it should be interesting to see how points shake out after today.
Could be a big help to Kevin Steele having a few of these drivers absent. He's going to be, he's been on the podium even when we have larger fields because he's just been so consistent. And now with a little bit less competition on his plate, I think he can definitely get a good finish, maybe even a win. I think Charlotte is kind of a track that's up Kevin's alley. I know he's a very rhythm-based driver. He likes tracks where you kind of have to get in the rhythm and really get a feel for the car. And Charlotte is one of those tracks because even in these road cars that maybe don't have as much horsepower as a stock car, turn 3 and 4 at Charlotte is one of those turns that is just kind of difficult to master, but once you do, it gives you a huge edge. It's a little bit tighter than turns 1 and 2. There's a definite let-off point going into the corner, and about halfway, that's where the corner starts to kind of tighten up a little bit, so you have to make sure that your angle on entry is just right, and that's the kind of thing Kevin Steele's good at. So I think if we're making picks, I know we're going to get to that eventually, but if we're making picks, I'm going to take Kevin Steele for tonight.
Yeah, I think that's a very good option there, but I also think that we may see some guys such as Dustin Schwingle and Craig Fryer make a run tonight. Let's see. From what I've seen in practice, other than Bryson Hixenbaugh driving through the infield, is that this seems like it will be a drafting track again. So it can be anybody's race.
Absolutely. There's going to be a lot of drafting. If any of you at home have ever ran the street stocks at Charlotte, and you know how much the draft can affect you at a mile and a half like this, and it's really going to be a similar situation with these Cadillac CTSV race cars maybe even more so. We got them big old spoilers that displace a lot of air. Well, actually, these are wings, technically. So we got those big old wings that displace a bunch of air, and I think the runs they're going to get down the backstretch and through the tri-oval are going to be absolutely enormous, and it's going to be wild to see what they can do with those runs, because getting the run is one thing, going somewhere with it and making sure there's a gap, that's a whole other thing.
Absolutely. Looks like we're just about ready to get rolling here today with our starting lineup. No presenting sponsor because, well, we're underfunded. So to start off with, of course, there is going to be...
me and Kevin have killed all the infield spectators.
Oh, and
race,
unfortunately, hopefully, none of our viewers were in the infield. May they rest in peace. So it looks like actually we're going to be missing our front row. I'll let you take it from here, Andre.
Cody, I'm going to have you run through the starting order. I'm loading into the simulation right now, and I have no video feed, so go ahead and take that over.
Alrighty, cool. So it looks like Craig Fryer is going to start on the pole. Preston McRae will be second. Bryson Hixenbaugh looks like he is going to be lining up third. Kevin Steele fourth. Dustin Schwingle fifth. And Jonathan Delaney will round out our field today. Small 6-car field. Sorry, I know our starting lineup here shows kind of different than what I just said, but of course we do have some no-shows such as Cameron Stone.
Absolutely, and when it comes to Cameron Stone, it's a coin toss whether or not he's going to show up. You tell him there's a podcast recording going on, he'll be right there. But a race in the IROC series, I don't know. He's kind of all over the place. But regardless, smaller field. But sometimes the smaller fields can kind of put on a better show, because I think when it comes to races with smaller fields, sometimes the drivers feel a little bit more bold in the moves that they make, because they feel like maybe there's not as much to lose when there's only so many cars on the track. So they get these big runs and they make these crazy moves, and definitely puts on a bit of a show. The question is, how long can they do that and keep the cars clean? We definitely don't want to see much carnage. I think everybody's hoping for a clean race, so hopefully these guys can race hard but clean as we get ready to go green.
Coming out of turn 3 into turn 4, looks like that Craig Fryer is ready to go. Jonathan Delaney back there, being the caboose of the field, as you can say, and looks like the pace car is just about to drop off. Andre?
Yeah, the pace car lights are off. They're coming out of turn 4, and it's going to make that hard left turn. And the front row is going to try to get as big of a jump as they can. They're going to need it, especially with the runs that we're going to get with these big old wings. Here we go. They're in the tri-oval, and the green flag has flown. There goes Fryer on the inside in that pink machine. He's going to get clear of second place just barely. Bryson Hixenbaugh in tow, in second, about a car length back. Looks like everybody's opting to dip down. That's going to leave, I believe, that is... Crawl. Preston McRae on the high side all by himself. So he's going to have to hope and pray that he gets some draft help. Now nearly 3 wide as Kevin Steele is going to go full send onto the bottom. John Delaney nearly making it 4 wide, joining Kevin with that full send. Coming to cross the line for the first time, completing lap 1, it's Kevin Steele leading the lap. Now we know Kevin said he's got to be more aggressive if he wants to win the points championship. He's got to lead the most laps. He's got to get wins. Well, it looks like he is on a mission to do just that today.
Absolutely. And it looks like Jonathan Delaney wants to make that move and increase his point lead even more as they go 3 wide into turn 3 with Preston McRae in the middle.
That is not an enviable position to be in the middle of 3 wide. John Delaney right there beneath you and Fryer right above you. That is a scary situation to be 3 wide at this track. One of the more narrow 1.5 out there, especially when you get to the corners. But they seem to have sorted it out. No harm, no foul. That's going to put John Delaney up into second. So a pretty comfortable position. A little bit of a gap growing as now John Delaney is going to send it down onto the bottom. Here he goes, door-to-door with Kevin Steele. He's going to slingshot around. He's not quite clear yet, but upon exit he will get clear. He's going to be able to slide up and lead a lap. That is not what Kevin Steele wants to see. I think we're going to see him very urgently try to get that lead back as he's barely going to clip the grass. I was definitely correct in the call that he's going to try to get this lead back. He just about clipped the grass. He's now to the bottom, door-to-door with Delaney. These guys are not giving an inch. We are 4 laps into this race, and they're driving like it's the last lap.
Yeah, and as you can see, Bryson Hixenbaugh, they all know they got to Wow, I can't talk. Limit the number of laps that Jonathan Delaney leads, because him already being the points leader, it's going to be very important that they do not let him get that bonus for having the most laps led.
Absolutely. It's kind of a game of king of the hill right now because the laps led points are so important in this series due to its short schedule. And with John Delaney already being on top, I think everybody behind him really wants to knock him off that mountain and take those points for himself. One of those drivers, of course, is going to be Bryson Hixenbaugh, who is now making a move down to the bottom of Kevin Steele, hugging that blue and white line. He's going to get a good run through 3 and 4, but not quite good enough to get clear. All of this battling behind is allowing John Delaney to sort of sail off into the distance. And now Kevin Steele stuck on the high side, sort of like Fryer was earlier, and as well as McRae was strapped on the high side early in the race. Now it's Kevin Steele in that position. Although this time looks like he's got a little bit of draft help. Now they're dipping back down. It's a revolving door for third place.
Yeah, and looking at Preston McRae's car, it looks like he has a little damage on his wing, on the rear wing. So I'm gonna have to watch and see how that affects his run through the rest of this race. With how important aero is in these cars, that's gonna play a huge impact on his car.
Absolutely. You can see the runs that they're getting with the aero, and you're right, it's very important. I'm kind of confused as to how he damaged his wing. The location that it's damaged in, it almost looks like maybe a bump draft gone wrong, maybe a little bit too much of a shove. That's definitely something that can happen. These cars are not as stout as stock cars. One little tap can be enough to warp the bodywork on these things. So it doesn't seem to be holding him up too much, but I am noticing we have 2 distinct packs forming as the second pack is being spearheaded by Preston McRae in that pink machine, and then further ahead, you've got 2 lone cars, that is John Delaney and Bryson Hixenbaugh, 1 and 2, following in each other's tire tracks, pretty much line for line. I mean, these guys are glued to one another, and they're pulling away.
Yeah, and it looks like Bryson Hixenbaugh may just be content to ride behind him. And I don't know technically what the fuel run is, but with 67 laps, you have to think that they may be pushing it close on fuel this entire race.
It could definitely be close. Like you said, I'm not entirely sure what their fuel mileage is. But given what it was at Rockingham, a much smaller track, I would assume, yeah, it's got to be close. Bryson Hixenbaugh now diving to the bottom. He didn't have a huge run going into the corner, but he was able to get his nose just barely down there and force Delaney into a higher line. Not able to do anything with it, though. He just didn't quite have the momentum on his side. He's going to try it again going into turn 1 and 2, this time a little bit bigger of a run. He got in that slipstream and just perfectly dove out of line. He's clear of Delaney now, up into P1. But we've seen a few drivers pass Delaney, and he seems to always get that position back. Aggressive bump drafting down the backstretch from Delaney. He was pushing Bryson Hixenbaugh completely full bore into that corner. I'm surprised there's not any damage to the rear of that car or the front of Delaney's. But coming through the trial, well, again, he's going to give him another tap. If I'm Bryson Hixenbaugh, I'm a little bit worried right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen how aggressive Jonathan Delaney can be, but that's also why Delaney has been so good in the series. He's not afraid to make moves. He's not afraid to push the car. And, I mean, we've seen it throughout the 100% Cup Series, too. He goes for it. We saw during our preseason race for 100% how aggressive he was. Unfortunately, his race ended early with an accident because of the aggressiveness. But, hey, more power to him. You're going to win some and you're going to lose some that way.
Absolutely. It's one of those driving styles that it can get you a lot of wins, but it comes at a cost. And I think it's one of those things where a lot of drivers differ on their driving philosophy, and even in real life, we've had the aggressive drivers and the more conservative drivers. But you know what I've noticed is, you think of fast, clean drivers, right? And you think of drivers like Mark Martin. Mark Martin never got a championship. You think of aggressive drivers, Dale Earnhardt, drivers like that do have the championships. Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, all drivers who will go for it and make some pretty abrasive moves, but they got the trophies to show for it. And that's not to say Mark Martin's a bad driver. Mark Martin is one of the greatest of all time. That is to say that sometimes being a little bit aggressive can open doors that being patient won't. So that is definitely a risk versus reward sort of driving style that Delaney has adopted. Gets you a lot of wins, gets you a lot of DNFs, but at the end of the day, I think people remember the wins a lot more than they remember the crashes. except for at Darlington. We still remember that 133X, John. In fact, we may never forget that, but
100%
for the
never
most part,
forgets.
absolutely. It seems like Delaney isn't able to get the runs that he was getting on Kevin Steele, or maybe he's sort of content. I think because Bryson is further back in the points, he's not as concerned with Bryson leading laps and getting those points. Whereas if Kevin Steele were to lead the most laps, that would be kind of an issue for John Delaney. So maybe that's why he is not really too aggressive trying to get around Hixenbaugh anymore. He's just kind of following along, giving him a tap here and there. Of course, those points would be helpful to him, but as long as Kevin Steele isn't getting them, then it's less dire for him to need them. But this race is really going by pretty quick. We're already on lap 16, and I would say right about now is probably when the tires are going to start to wear a little bit more, and they're going to start kind of feeling it. And I'm looking at the lap times, and there is a little bit of a drop-off. I would assume a lot of that drop-off is coming from 3 and 4, where you do have to lift a little bit more. But for the most part, these guys are on throttle a lot more than I expected them to be, Cody. And you know what on throttle time means? It means you're using up your tires pretty quick. So maybe a little bit more of a factor than we thought going in.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you can see here, it looks like Bryson Hixenbaugh started to gap Jonathan Delaney a little there, compared to Delaney being right on the back bumper of Hixenbaugh. But it looks like he's starting to back off a little. You have to wonder if he's starting to save tires here in the early parts of this race.
Absolutely could be. And I'm looking back into the second pack. It's now being spearheaded by Craig Fryer. He is the front of this pack. He is followed shortly by Dustin Schwingle, Preston McRae, and Kevin Steele, who's now trying to get around McRae on the bottom there. These guys are pretty much all together in their own little pack, and I'm a little surprised they're not catching the 2 leaders. You would think the slipstream from 3 or 4 cars being in a line would be a little bit better than 2, but it seems that they are just slowly dropping off. Preston McRae's lap time last time around was a 32.4, and you compare that to the lead cars. John Delaney ran a 31.7, so did Bryson Hixenbaugh. Nobody in the second pack ran anything faster than a 32, so it seems like whatever those leaders are doing is working.
Yeah, and just as we were saying that, Delaney has caught back up to the back of Bryson Hixenbaugh during that little stint we were looking at the second pack, as he makes a move going into 3 on Bryson Hixenbaugh. And it looks like Bryson's going to let him kind of take that bottom line as Delaney drifts up, pushing Hixenbaugh towards the wall. And it looks like Jonathan Delaney will have the lead at the line.
I think it might have been Hixenbaugh that led that lap, if just barely. But you're right, Delaney did close that gap. He's now making the move, and I got to wonder if maybe he wasn't backing off a little bit and letting his tires cool down so that he could kind of afford to push the car for a few laps and make an attempt at this overtake. But it is not coming easily for Jonathan. He is really having to work for this overtake, as now he just barely gets the edge. He gets clear of Hixenbaugh. Is he going to go? No! Hixenbaugh gets the run out of the corner. Delaney no longer clear. He was unable to come up and complete the block or the slide job, and they're going to continue to battle it out. This is a battle 2 laps in the making, and this is why Jonathan Delaney probably had to back off a little bit and let his tires cool down, because if he had tried to make these moves while the tires were hot, the car may not have been there for him. So they're going to keep battling it out. I'm really impressed with the speed that Hixenbaugh is finding on the top line. When we saw side-by-side racing earlier in the race, it seemed like the top was a lot slower than it is now, and maybe that's because they're starting to rubber it up. They're running that high line a little bit more, especially in that second pack where they've been side-by-side a little bit more often than these leaders have, and that is to Hixenbaugh's benefit right now, as he's kind of able to try to get those runs out of the corner using the high line. Now diving down onto the apron, a huge block by Delaney. To the bottom again goes Hixenbaugh, attempt number 2. Now the roles have reversed. It's Delaney up top, Hixenbaugh on the bottom, but can Delaney find that magic up top that Hixenbaugh did?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, you have to think that high line's going to be eating those tires even more. The longer way around the track, I would say, is not preferred here. That bottom is something that you want to be hitting every lap. But it seems like these two are making that high line work better than I imagined, as it looks like they're about even going down the backstretch.
Absolutely. They're staying door to door. This battle has been absolutely intense for upwards of 4 to 5 laps now. And even while they're battling it out, they still ran 31.9 last time around. Meanwhile, the second pack, which has sort of split up a little bit now, is still struggling to run anything greater than a 32. So whether or not they are conserving fuel and equipment, I'm not entirely sure, but these leaders have an insane pace. Most definitely is what we can tell from that. And Hixenbaugh is going to stay right on the bottom now, running Delaney up the track a little bit, maybe a little bit retaliation for Delaney kind of running him up the track earlier. But this battle has been really clean. They have been door-to-door, side-by-side for a long time now, and there has been little to no contact. I mean, this is hard but respectful racing, and this is what I love seeing out of motorsports. This has been an absolutely amazing battle as they barrel through 3 and 4. Delaney is really working that high side, dare I say, maybe a little bit better than Hixenbaugh was using it. It seems like Delaney is getting bigger runs out of the corner and really preventing Bryson from being able to get clear and throw the slide job. I'm starting to think maybe as the tires wear, it's almost like street stocks where the top becomes the preferred line simply because the turning radius isn't as sharp. That is something that could be happening right now, Cody.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else to take into consideration with that second pack being about 5 seconds back. I wonder, like I said, I wonder if they're going to be able to go full fuel run. Bryson dips down low to block Delaney, and Delaney almost went on the apron into 3 to get that move done.
Bryson was about 4 car lengths down onto the apron, and that is actually how he got clear of Delaney. Delaney lost a little bit of momentum there. Now through the grass goes Delaney, sliding up the track, now back down. It seems like Delaney is trying to do everything in his power to make this pass, and so far, just hasn't worked.
Yeah, and something to take into consideration, too. I heard rumors through the garage. They're not going to have the car ready for next week at Lime Rock because Jonathan Delaney is going camping in January in PA. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does because he wants to get those extra points because I do not think that there is a drop week.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need to get the most laps led if he wants to really secure the points championship for sure. Missing a week is going to be absolutely brutal because the points lead he has over drivers like Kevin Steele right now could be eliminated with one drop week. If he misses out on racing, Kevin Steele shows up, maybe leads the most laps, maybe gets the win, or even just finishes on the podium. So he's kind of scrounging for every single point, planning on missing a race. Obviously something he probably doesn't want to do, but nonetheless, life comes ahead of the simulation usually. So it's going to be Delaney up on the high line right now. He is trying to reclaim that first position. They've been side by side for a little while again. They were single file for about a lap. They cooled down, and now they are right back to battling, although this time maybe a little bit more aggressively. I noticed Delaney really forced Bryson down onto the apron through 3 and 4, kind of pinched him. And I don't know, I think as these aggression levels go up, the danger also rises. And this is going to be quite fascinating to see how this plays out because if I know Delaney, at this point, he is determined to pass Bryson, and I'm not sure he's going to let anything get in his way.
Yeah, and just as you said that, Bryson went down low to block on Delaney, and it looked like Delaney was going to force him to keep him down there, but actually let him back up on the track. As we've been treated to 30 laps of great racing so far, Andre.
Absolutely. It's been a treat for sure. Coming through the trial, there was a little bit of contact there. A little bit of a door rub, I believe, but nothing too severe. It might not have even registered as contact on the sim. That's how really close these guys are battling it out. And while they stay side-by-side contact through the backstretch, Cody, these guys are starting to get a little bit more aggressive than they were about 15 laps ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to think Preston McRae, Kevin Steele, Craig Fryer, and Dustin Schwingle are eating this up right now, hoping that there's an accident. Obviously, Dustin Schwingle has been competitive so far, winning the season opener at Michigan. But at the same time, you have to, in his case, he's about 5 points off of Jonathan Delaney. So if these two wreck, that's huge for point implications going forward.
Absolutely. All the way down to the apron with the blocks. Both of the leaders, Bryson Hixenbaugh, Jonathan Delaney, bumper to bumper, sailing through that bumpy infield where the pavement is nowhere near as smooth. You could see the suspension on these Cadillacs bouncing all over the place. I'm not even sure how they kept a grip on these things. Contact! Bryson up the track. Jonathan Delaney and Bryson Hixenbaugh are out of the race. Delaney flipping door over door through the infield grass. His car is going to come to a rest. And Bryson Hixenbaugh is already in pit road getting the tow. The front of his car gone. That was a straight-up dump, I believe, by Delaney. I mean, it sounds blunt.
You are clear to pit.
But there was no... I don't think there's any other way to look at that. I feel like Delaney really got up on the bumper and just didn't lift.
Yeah, no, it definitely didn't look like that. Let's go back to the previous incident. Let me rewind it a bit. Oh, nope, let's go back a little farther. Alright, right about here. So as you can see here, it looks like Jonathan Delaney was about to go low, and then he got loose.
Attention all drivers, attention all drivers.
We'll
be using this as a competition caution.
Competition caution. He got on the bumper of Hixenbaugh, maybe not intentionally, but he did. And that got Hixenbaugh loose.
Grab tires and fuel.
There was nothing that Hixenbaugh could do at that point. He was along for the ride. He came back up the track, swiped Delaney, and now you can see his car sitting there on pit road. I believe Delaney and Hixenbaugh are both done for the day. There is no way they're getting those cars back out on the track. Terminal damage for sure, as the whole front end of Bryson's car is gone. I believe that is... yeah, you can see Delaney trying to recover, trying to get back out on the track after flipping door over door multiple times. He's smoking quite heavily, but he is... we're going to ride along on board during the accident. You can see the swipe right there, gets into the outside retaining barrier upside down, flipping down the banking. The grass then flips him over with that change in grip levels. And surprisingly, the car was intact enough to drive away from the infield, but I definitely don't think he's going to be able to compete with that machine. At the very most, he's going to be able to get that thing back to the garage. And that's a hit for Delaney, let me tell you. You mentioned he's going camping next week. He won't be racing. And that is going to be a huge hit in points.
All right, guys. Call that competition caution because there are only 4 cars left now. And that was some pretty good-looking racing there on the broadcast. So we'll have a little under 30 laps for you to go out there and do it all over again. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, sorry, just wanted to hear what they're doing a competition caution. So they were not going to be good on fuel, according to the competition caution. So that is a huge deal for, well, I would say for their strategy, but now it doesn't matter as much. But I'll tell you what, Andre, 4 guys that we don't normally see up towards the front are about to battle it out for the win here. Yes,
indeed, and I'll tell you what, this is going to be a huge thing for Kevin Steele, because now Bryson Hixenbaugh, Jonathan Delaney, they're out of the race. We are on lap 33. Caution laps do not count. We're going to go green on lap 34. So Kevin Steele, I don't believe, can get the most laps led. I think, actually he can, because Bryson Hixenbaugh and Jonathan Delaney both led a fair amount of laps there. They split it up pretty equally, I would say. So with just over half the race remaining, it's going to be, if he were to lead every lap, he could claim those points. Now, I'm not sure he's going to be able to. He's got some tough competition around him. But getting second most laps led, which is also something that counts for points, definite possibility. I think if he starts to really show his aggressive side at the end of this race, he could shift the playoff, or not the playoff picture, the points picture, I apologize. He could shift the points picture massively.
Absolutely, and actually, I think that's even better for Dustin Schwingle. Only being 5 points back at Jonathan Delaney, I mean, he's going to make up 5 points here today, at the very least, on John. So it's going to be interesting to see if he comes out of Charlotte as the points leader going into next week at Lime Rock.
Yeah, he very well could. You're right. I mean, 5 points back, and now the guy that he was trailing isn't even in the race. I believe right now, just by virtue of being ahead of Delaney by over 5 spots, he is ahead in points as they run. We don't have any live timing and scoring to confirm that. That's just kind of some quick head math there. But if he were to finish up here in the top 4 and maybe lead some laps, I think he can definitely reclaim that points lead, given some other drivers maybe don't lead the most laps and all of that. So it's, again, that's a big help to him, like you said. And That wreck, I think, was definitely the biggest shakeup that could have happened. I mean, you had two front runners, one of which was the points leader, just barely the points leader by 5 points, and their days are done. And that just leaves the playground open to the rest of these drivers to try and put in some work here.
Yeah, and it looks like we actually have 2 visitors in our infield care center, which we have not utilized this season yet. So who do you want to bring in first, Bryson or John?
Let's bring in Bryson first. I feel like he's going to give us a bit of a perspective on what happened.
Bryson Hixenbaugh, this is Cody Bird up in the BurdVision TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, first off, want to make sure you're okay. That was a hard hit you had.
Yeah, I think I'm all right. Might have a bit of concussion. Got some blurry vision. Might not make next week's race because of it.
Oh, that's tough to hear. So, in your opinion, what happened?
Well, we were having some fun racing there. We were both making some crazy moves, and he was trying to pass on the apron, which wasn't going to happen. So I had to throw the block to keep us from wrecking, keep him behind me. And then on the front stretch there, I guess he was a little bit frustrated. Got behind me and turned right on my bumper and just spun me and wrecked us both.
Oh, that's unfortunate to see. Andre, you got anything to add to that?
It looks like after the contact there, you were kind of just along for the ride. You just happened to come back up the track right into Delaney. That was a bit of a unfortunate accident, I'm sure. But I got to ask, with the aggression levels out there, with just the 2 front runners battling it out, were you racing with the hopes of trying to maybe make up that points gap? Is that where a lot of that aggression came from?
Yeah, I really needed to lead the most laps in this race to have a shot. And with John up there, I knew I couldn't let him lead. And it was going to be tough enough already if he was going to finish second to me if I happened to win the race. But him getting the most laps led would have neutralized any benefit I had. So I just had to keep him behind me. And it didn't work out.
All right. Well, we thank you for your time. We're sorry your race ended like that. You hate to see it for anybody, but especially the 2 front runners going out like that's a difficult thing to see. But good luck in the coming races, and hopefully you can kind of end the season on a high note.
Hopefully. See you guys.
See ya. All right, that was Bryson Hixenbaugh, and during that interview, we actually went green. We'll get to John Delaney here in a second, as we're side by side for the lead, Andre.
Yeah, Kevin Steele is currently running the bottom of the track. He's going to bring Schwingle in tow. That puts Kevin Consistency Steele, we're bringing it back up to the front. Side by side for second behind him momentarily, but now Schwingle is actually going to lift a little bit and concede. He could have got the run. He could have peaked high, but he thought better of it. I saw those brake lights come on, and he did not make that move. So these guys driving a little bit more conservatively, perhaps, than the front 2 drivers that are now out of the race. That's kind of interesting, as Kevin Steele is probably going to be very aggressive with this defense because he knows he has to be. He's got to lead just about every single lap remaining in this race if he wants to get most laps led locked down, and it's going to be a tall order for sure. But single file for the most part right now, anybody's game in this front pack.
Absolutely. While we got this little... Oh, and just as I was about to pull John in, Dustin Schwingle makes a move on the back, but looks like we're going back to single file here. Let's bring up John Delaney up in the booth to hear his opinion on it. What don't you say, Andre?
Oh, yeah.
John Delaney, this is Cody and Andre up in the BurdVision TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got it, yes.
All right, John. So, evidence showed that it looks like that you dumped Bryson Hixenbaugh for that lead. What, in your view, what happened?
That's just good racing by both of us. We were side by side for 30 laps or so, and most fun I've had in this car for sure. But I had a run on Bryson on the front stretch going into turn 1. He blocked like we were doing all the entire race, and these cars. The length of them are a lot different than the Cup car, and it takes some getting used to. And I just didn't notice this. I was on Bryson's bumper, and then I turned right to go high up on him, and I turned him. So that's my fault there. But I feel like it could have been avoided without the blocking, but that's just how it is. That's how racing is.
Absolutely.
Racing indeed. Now, John, the word around the block is that you're going camping next week. You're going to be unable to race, and so I'm sure you were hoping to try and lock down most laps led, or at least a podium finish today, to try and build up as much of a points cushion as possible going into next week, so that these drivers can't make too much of the points up on you. But now, obviously, with the incident occurring, now you're out of the race. How big of a hit is this for you in the points picture going forward?
I think it'll take us out of contention for the championship. Yeah, again, the first couple laps, I knew we were really fast. I mean, when me and Bryson were both side by side, we were still pulling away by the guys behind us. I felt, I really had to, get the most laps led to get as many points as I can, and finish as high as I can. So that was why I was so aggressive. Just trying to get around Bryson to lead the laps. That's why I was trying so hard on the outside. Just couldn't prevail. But yeah, I think I know Schwingle was only like 5 points behind us in points. So he's been really consistent lately. I know Kevin's been up there too. He just hasn't been able to lead very much laps and get bonus points, which is hurting him. So, but I think with me not being able to race next week, I doubt we'll be in contention unless Schwingle or Kevin have a bad week. So, but well, we'll see.
All right. Well, Cody, unless you have anything to add.
Nope. Thank you for joining us up in the booth, and hope you feel better after that accident.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. And that was John Delaney. And while we were in that little interview, we've been treated to some more side-by-side racing with Kevin Steele and Dustin Schwingle.
Those two interviews, man, that is the duality of man. Bryson comes in and Jonathan Delaney, he was being too aggressive trying to pass me, and then you got Jonathan Delaney in here. Bryson was being too aggressive trying to block my passes. So one of those situations. It's a difference in perspective, but yeah, the racing that we've been treated to during these interviews has been absolutely phenomenal. As now, instead of a 2-car battle, it's been a 4-car battle. These guys are all so close in pace. It is truly anybody's game. Is now Kevin Steele sort of trapped on the high side as Dustin Schwingle is currently leading the way, and then Craig Fryer behind him is going to sort of remove any option that Kevin Steele might have had to get down low on the track. And then, of course, you've got Preston McRae, Kevin's Apex teammate. He's running the top line, trying to help his teammate out with the draft. And it is going to be Kevin Steele leading that lap. And I'm noticing that seems to be the trend. It seems like Dustin Schwingle is leading the majority of the lap. And then they come to the line, and Kevin Steele gets shot out of a cannon. He does lead those laps. So I don't think most laps led is out of the picture yet for Kevin Steele.
Absolutely not. And, I mean, this entire time, Schwingle saw what happened. And you have to know that he's going to be going hard to get that win. As they race side by side coming out of 4, it's going to be interesting to see who leads this lap. But the playoff picture just changed, as you heard from John Delaney. Or, sorry, championship picture. We're so used to the playoffs.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like Stockholm Syndrome. Whoa, we got almost 2 hits simultaneously that didn't occur. You had Craig Fryer with a huge run, nearly rear-ending the leader, and then you had Kevin Steele coming down to side draft, coming within an inch or so of the bodywork. That was a scary situation from Dustin Schwingle. He had aggression coming from all sides. Luckily, everybody was able to keep it clean, and they are continuing on like nothing ever happened. But man, these aggression levels are continuing to rise as now Craig Fryer is forced to get on the brakes. He saw those red lights come on. The leader got a little bit loose on the bottom. I think he might have clipped that apron. Maybe scraped the bodywork a little bit. Got that car unsettled, Cody.
Absolutely. I'm curious to see what would happen if, I hope this doesn't happen because we're some great racing for between these 4. But curious to see what would happen if all 4 of them wreck. We may get a Ricky Bobby, John Gerard type incident during Talladega Nights here if it continues.
Alexa, play We Belong by Pat Benatar. It could be an interesting situation. I think if they were to all wreck out, It would probably be where they ran as far as the sim is concerned, when they tow, which would probably be where they were at the time of caution, which cars were involved, and in what order they were involved. It would likely be some shenanigans involved in figuring out the finishing order, but it's a crazy thing to think about. But with a 4-car field remaining, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's definitely something that could happen if the front 2 cars got a little bit too aggressive and we see another Delaney Hixenbaugh incident. But I don't think we are. These guys up here are all drivers that I tend to think of as very clean. Kevin Steele, Dustin Schwingle, Preston McRae, Craig Fryer. I've never seen these guys really get involved in too many incidents that were a result of over-aggression. So I think these guys are going to battle it out hard, but I would trust these guys to be able to make it to the end.
Absolutely, and as we look here, Kevin Steele still has the lead. It's going to be interesting to see who has the most laps led between the 4 of these guys, because they've all been swapping the lead between Dustin Schwingle and Kevin Steele, and then of course Bryson Hixenbaugh and John Delaney. They were swapping the lead back and forth as well.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Delaney and Hixenbaugh were really kind of splitting their laps led. It seemed like Delaney would get ahead, and then Hixenbaugh would get ahead, and with that wreck occurring on lap 33, if I had to estimate, I would say Hixenbaugh probably led about 20 of those laps. Maybe not quite, maybe about 18 or so. And that leaves the door open, I think, for Kevin Steele to get the most laps led. Schwingle has led a few laps. He's been ahead at the line a couple times. So that's going to make the task a little bit more difficult for Kevin Steele, but definitely still not impossible, as we have crossed the line for lap 53 out of 67. The race is starting to come to a close. I mean, with only a little bit of time remaining, we got these 4 guys pretty much bumper to bumper. I think we're going to see a bit of a Daytona-esque finish, where the guy who's leading through 3 and 4 may not necessarily be the guy who's leading at the line, simply due to these huge draft runs that they're getting.
Yeah, and you have to think maybe that Craig Fryer and Preston McRae may be holding back a little to save their stuff too for that last little bit of the 5 laps and make this a 4-car battle for that lead. I mean, we've seen already through all the races side-by-side finishes. We've seen guys wrecking out of who were dominating a race, and I wouldn't expect any different of a side-by-side finish here as well.
I absolutely agree. I think we're going to see a heck of a finish if these guys can make it that far. Like I said, I trust these guys to keep it clean to the end. That is kind of their forte, especially Kevin Steele, who, man, that bottom line, he was really hugging the apron, but maintaining a lot of momentum doing so. You got Dustin Schwingle up on the high side. That is a 3-car train on the top side, not giving any draft help to Kevin Steele, and yet he maintained the lead going through those corners there, Cody.
Yeah, and we heard from Kevin Steele, as everybody knows, in the last 100% season, he finished all 36 of 36 races. The only guy to make all 36 races and finish. So he has been the Iron Man of this league, and while he only has 1 win in 100%, he's looking to match that here in the IROC series as well and close that gap on Jonathan Delaney.
And he is definitely capable of it, although now the roles are reversed. Dustin Schwingle down to the bottom of the track. The draft help is going to go to Kevin Steele, it would seem, but across the line that time, Dustin Schwingle. So mark another one off for Schwingle to have led that lap. And Preston McRae getting dangerously close to the quarter panel of Fryer there. He, man, that was a little bit too close for my comfort, but I mean, I'm up in the booth. These guys are driving. We'll let them decide. In contact! Preston McRae into the quarter panel of Fryer. Fryer is going to be a little bit of damage, although he has kept it. He recovered. He's coming through the trioval. Car is looking pretty decent, Cody.
Yeah, doesn't look like there was too much damage. If we go back to that accident. Oh boy. Because it wasn't actually a caution, and I lost my mode, and it looks like they haven't fallen off the lead too much, so that was a great save by both of them to continue on and not only be about a second back.
It was a fantastic save. Unfortunately, with how important staying in the draft of the leaders is, I think that may have taken them out of contention for the lead as it stands right now. Now, of course, that could change if the leaders were to wreck or to have anything happen. It looks like Preston McRae, I'm riding along with him right now on his hood cam from my end, and I think he is just barely within the draft. So I think he's going to be able to catch back up to these leaders and make himself a part of this again before the end of the race. But looking back at Craig Fryer, and he is a little bit further back, I'm not sure he's going to have that same luxury. It's close. With how far he is, he's about 7 to 8 car lengths. That's right on the edge of the draft.
Yeah, I definitely think he's actually back in the draft here. I know at draft tracks such as Daytona and Talladega, you can be about 0.8 back and be able to get back in the draft. And he's there. He's only about 0.3 seconds back as we close in on 7 to go here as we cross the line.
Yeah, it does seem like he is closing in a little bit more. And then McRae has caught the leaders. He's there now. So he has recovered. The leader's going to stay side by side, and that's going to kind of put McRae in the catbird seat as they roll right now. If anything happens to the leaders, he is next in line to inherit the win. So I'm sure he is putting himself in a pretty good position there, as Kevin Steele, still glued to the outside, hasn't really had the opportunity to get to the bottom, hasn't really attempted too many overtakes down there. He's really hugging that high line and unfortunately not quite getting the runs out of the corner that he would like, because again, while Kevin Steele led last time around, this time around it was Dustin Schwingle. So these guys are trading off lap after lap, and that is going to definitely hamper Kevin Steele's efforts in leading the most laps. So it's going to be interesting to see at the end of the race. We're going to have to look at the chart and see who did indeed lead the most laps, but it's at this point almost too hard to tell because it's been such a trade-off for the last dozen or so laps.
Yeah, absolutely. And just as we were talking about that, look who's back in the picture, Craig Fryer. So we're back to a 4-car battle here with 5 to go. And it doesn't look like any of these guys are giving an inch on each other. So I think they're going to keep this side-by-side racing, and it's going to be interesting to see how this finishes up.
And it's impressive that these two have found their way back to the leaders. When I saw Craig Fryer spinning sideways through the corner, I thought that was pretty much his day done, but it was a fantastic recovery. He was able to get that thing going in the right direction. And not only that, but he was able to get it recovered in time to stay in the draft of the leaders, which is absolutely miraculous. Honestly, it was very, very surprising to see, and I'm sure he is feeling like he dodged a bit of a bullet there, being able to still be a part of this. Preston McRae has a little bit of damage to his right rear spoiler still. I think that's from earlier in the race, and I just kind of noticed that again as I'm looking at it, and I'll tell you, it really doesn't seem to be affecting his speed, but I'm almost wondering if that's not the reason his car is getting tight, because you notice Preston McRae is sliding up the corner a little bit more than these other guys, and that's kind of what caused him to make contact with Fryer. He was underneath, and then his car slid up, and I got to wonder if maybe he has a little less downforce than the rest of these guys.
Yeah, and we're under 3 to go here, and it looks like Craig Fryer is making a bid for the lead here as he gives Schwingle a little push there to get him out in front of Kevin Steele, and hopefully Craig Fryer can take second as we are here with 2 to go. And they're not, and I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to keep repeating myself because, I can't not repeat myself, but not giving an inch. And again, being treated to a great race with 2 to go.
It's anybody's game in this lead pack, Cody. I got to tell you, it really could be any of these 4 as we make our way down the backstretch for the penultimate time. Coming through 3 and 4, we're charging towards the white flag. The advantage right now, Kevin Steele back to Dustin Schwingle. These guys are trading it off absolutely back and forth. It's been insane to watch. Preston McRae a little bit further back as Fryer is making a charge for the lead, or at least trying to make a move. I got to wonder if maybe McRae is intentionally holding back a little bit so we can try to get a run out of 3 and 4. They're going to stay pretty much 2 by 2. Going into the final corner, it's going to be 3 wide. You've got Craig Fryer forcing the issue down low. He's going to lose all of his momentum. Now, Dustin Schwingle, by about 2 car lengths, is going to win at Charlotte.
Man,
Good win, Dustin.
another great race we were treated to.
Awesome.
Oh, and I apologize for the profanity. They were all having a freaking blast out there. As
Yeah, I lost track
as
of
they
how many
finished
laps
the line.
crossed 0-0 on the relative. Sorry, I had to pinch up in turn 4.
Yeah, and
That was
incredible.
No, I saw you had Craig on your
Yeah,
inside
that was
there. It
quite the finish. I think
that was a fucking
Craig
blast,
Fryer
man.
definitely, he saw a gap,
Everybody,
he
great
went for it.
racing, clean racing. That was
Unfortunately,
so
I
much
think the
fun.
tires were so worn at that point he couldn't quite get the grip that he wanted. But it was a bold move, and it might not have got him the win, but he
Good
did
job there, Craig. It was a
wind
good
up
move. You didn't
finishing
have to wreck
second, which
anybody else.
is
Did clean racing with everybody.
furthest up the grid he'd been all
That's how it
night.
should be done.
So your final
Appreciate everybody
results:
coming out.
Dustin
That's awesome.
Schwingle P1, Craig Fryer P2, Kevin Steele in third,
It's gonna suck
Preston
trying to
McRae
take
fourth,
pictures.
Bryson
Every lap look the
Hixenbaugh
same,
fifth,
though.
Jonathan
Side
Delaney
by side
in
by side.
P6, rounding out the field.
Absolutely. And why don't we go back to the what should we call this sponsor, because we're not sponsored and I don't expect to sponsor anytime soon. The move of the race. That's good.
We're going back to the Uncle Handy's move of the race.
There you go. And I mean, I want to give a lot of credit to Craig Fryer there too. He could have taken out all three of them, and he didn't. He hit the brakes, had enough self-awareness to keep it straight. And I got to go back a little farther. As you can
You're
see
right,
here,
though. I mean,
he dove it low, knew he didn't have the move, and he hit the brakes, and still came away second with that finish.
yeah, he could have sent it. He could have been a little bit more aggressive there, but I think he knew the car wasn't going to stick. He cut his losses, got on the brakes, and he brought it home second, which is a very respectable finish. And as you can see now, that's Dustin Schwingle on the infield celebrating a little bit. That is going to be another win, the IROC series for him. And, man, I'm sure he's pretty ecstatic.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, just wanted to see if Craig wants to be interviewed. If not, we'll pull in Preston McRae as well. But for the meantime, why don't you say we get Kevin Steele? Oh, that's the infield care center, the waiting room, and Dustin Schwingle in here. How do you want to do this time? Do you want to go...
We'll go third to first. I'll take Kevin Steele first.
Okay, and we're actually going to interview the top 4 finishers.
All right.
So Kevin Steele first? Or actually, let's
Yep.
go Preston McRae because he finished 4th. So.
All right. You can go ahead and take him, Cody.
Alrighty. Preston McRae, this is Cody up in the BurdVision TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's up, Cody?
What's up? So that was a great race from our viewpoint. Walk us through that final lap and the prior incident with you and Craig Fryer.
That final lap, I'm not even sure what happened. It was all a blur, but I didn't mean to get in Craig. My car got really tight, and I should have anticipated it, but it was an incident. I apologized, and we kept racing.
Yeah, like I mentioned, up here in the booth, you guys were battling it out. What was going through your mind after Jonathan Delaney and Bryson Hixenbaugh made contact?
That the fast guys wrecked out. I don't know, I was just trying to keep clean and try to stay off the wall because I managed to hit the wall in lap 1.
I understood. Andre, you got anything to add?
No, not really. I just want to commend him on a great run. I mean, you were super consistent that whole night. I'm sure that damage to your spoiler altered the handling a little bit, and it was probably not the easiest car to drive. And nonetheless, you made a fantastic run. And even when you made that contact there with Fryer, you guys both made excellent recoveries, and I couldn't have done it better myself. So just congratulations on your P4 and a good run.
Thank you.
Is there anyone you want to thank for today's great run?
To everybody in this league, clean racing, it was fun.
All right. That was Preston McRae, our 4th place finisher today. Man, a few words. Let's bring in the Iron Man, Kevin Steele. Kevin Steele, this is Cody up in the booth. You got a copy? Actually, I'm going to let Andre take this one.
Get a copy, Kevin?
Hey guys, what's up?
All right, Kevin, you finished P3, maybe not where you wanted to finish, but nonetheless, it was a really good run. Very, very clean all throughout the day. I mean, there's not a scratch on that car, and you were definitely going for the most laps led. You were trying to lead every lap you could, and that battle between you and Schwingle, it seemed like every lap you guys were trading off. So it's going to be interesting to see when we look at the results and look at that paper who led the most laps. But
I got it.
I got it, buddy. Don't worry.
You were keeping count, huh?
No, I got 21. He had 14. Bryson had 19. I'm just looking at the results. But
All right. So
yeah, I mean
confirmation.
I was a little worried about it, obviously, with how poor Rockingham was last weekend. These cars are just really hard to get your head wrapped around, and they're really tight. I'm not good with a tight car. I never have been. Um, I think the thing that helped me here was the outside line kind of worked, and it I think it was easier on your tires. I really don't know, but yeah, I started fourth. I don't know how I got to the lead there at the beginning. Just kind of what I told you guys a couple weeks ago. I need to lead laps. That's the only way I'm going to make up points on these guys. And so I put on my aggressive pants and went for it. Um, Obviously, Bryson and John got around me, and I think I went the whole way to the back and just kind of rode around. But yeah, that battle there, the whole 30 laps or whatever we went there was awesome. And yeah, Schwingle and I were side by side for what 20 laps, and both of us had 0 incidence points. That's wild. That was so much fun.
It definitely looked fun. I mean, up in the booth, we were just watching that battling, and it was intense. But congratulations on most laps led. I think that definitely shakes up the points championship a lot, especially considering Jonathan Delaney is more than likely going to be absent next week. That is the points leader going into this race, so he won't be racing next week. You made up quite a bit of points with the most laps led, and at this point, I think there's still a few drivers who are going to be in it to win it at the end.
Yeah, I think Dustin probably is going to end up the points leader after this race. I would assume he had the second most led laps and winning and everything. I think he's probably going to be back on top of the standings. But this is a huge boost. Like I said, I was kind of down in the dumps after Rockingham. That was really, really, really not a good race for me, and it kind of felt like I was out of it for the championship. But we got a road course coming up, and that was really friendly to me at Auto Club, and then Daytona or Talladega. I don't know, one of them.
The big one.
Yeah, one of them big ones, and that went well for me too. So. Yeah, I'm excited to see the points because I think the top 3 or 4 are going to be really, really close. But you guys should probably track down Bryson and John and see what the heck happened with those guys.
Oh, we talked to him already. We got
Oh,
two
good.
very very different perspectives.
Oh, shocker.
Bryson said he was being too aggressive trying to pass. Delaney said Bryson was being too aggressive with the blocks. We're not sure who to believe. But
Well, we saw that coming. I think 10 laps before they wrecked each other, we were calling it back there because we were having our own little battle back for third and fourth. The 4 of us there that were there at the end were pretty close the whole race, and we were really, really clean. Even Craig Fryer, I knew it was going to go 3 wide on the last lap. I didn't know where he was going to go, but I knew he had the steam, and his tires were probably in better shape than both mine and Dustin's. I knew he was going to go 3 wide, and I was worried about it, but he dove into 3, and he held his line. It was a beautiful move. Yeah, I would have liked to won that one as close as I got, but a race like that, you can't be upset. I mean, those are far and few and far between on iRacing. So I'm all smiles.
yeah, it's a good outlook. Cody, do you have anything to add?
No, just you're keeping up with your Iron Man mentality, finishing races. Is there anyone you want to thank for today's great run?
Just the the usual folks, everybody at Apex Racing, everybody at DGR, Damaris for setting all this stuff up, my parents for watching, and of course you guys up in the booth. Hopefully we put on a good one for you today.
Absolutely. So once again, thank you for a great run. Rumor going through the garage is that you actually fired Cam Stone prior to this race. Any truth to that rumor? We've heard multiple rumors. Andre heard a rumor, and now I'm hearing that you fired him.
Oh, I can put those rumors to rest. Cam Stone is a special boy, and he has a life outside of iRacing, and the IROC series hasn't gone too well for him. I didn't hire him for IROC. I hired him for 100% Cup. So whatever he wants to do in IROC is his decision, and I support him, and I love him, and I wish him the best, and hopefully we'll see him tomorrow.
And that was Kevin Steele. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
See ya. Putting those rumors to rest right there. And I don't think Craig Fryer is quite ready for an interview. Let's try pulling him in, actually, real quick. Craig Fryer, this is Cody Bird up in the BurdVision TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, you got me?
Yep, got you copy.
Awesome.
Wow, I don't know what I was trying to do there. That was weird. Anyway, so walk us through that final lap. Your idea going into turn 3. Looks like you were ready to go 3 wide.
Yeah, I mean, I was coming with the head of steam. It started like 5 laps ago. I got a little, I forgot who was, ran up on me a little bit, and I got loose, and I had to make that save a couple laps before that. So I was putting in some good laps leading up to that, in the draft, and managed to get past 3rd place, and then I don't know. I felt like I had a decent enough run on the backstretch that I could maybe push it 3 wide without pissing everyone off. Didn't make it stick too much. Kind of washed up a little bit, but they gave me a little bit. Sorry for Kevin, who was on the high lane there, that kind of screwed him out of that. But I mean, just going for a win. It's these type of cards. It's almost like a restrictor plate in a way. But with the significance of the draft, it was a fun, great race. Great race.
Absolutely. Now, before this race, you hadn't had too many great finishes in the IROC series, so this has to boost your confidence going into the final 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely racing against some, it's IROC for a reason, and, a lot of good drivers in it, so I haven't, like you said, I haven't put it together. I know I missed the one race, but I think, last week I got in a little bit of trouble there, and haven't been able, like you said, haven't been able to put it together, but hopefully, I doubt I'm going to be good next week. I'm not a very good road course driver, but, never know what can happen in the last week. I should have a decent shot. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, you treated us to a great race. Andre, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I was going to ask, you mentioned you had to make that recovery there after Preston McRae got a little tight going into the corner, and I made contact with your quarter panel. When I saw how sideways you got, I thought, man, he's done. That's his race over. And then I look back, and you're coming through the trial bull at speed, and I'm thinking, how did he save that? Can you walk me through that a little bit and how you recovered that car?
Yeah, I didn't know. He was far enough on my left side that I can really see him coming up, so it definitely caught me for surprise. I was easily, 50 degrees sideways, and somehow, like, these cars are decent enough that they got enough traction that you can bring it back, but I didn't think I was going to be able to bring.
Oh, I didn't.
I think we lost him. Not sure
I didn't move him.
what happened. We're going to hold on one second, folks. We're going to take a look at Discord. Preston McRae, Kevin Steele, Damaris, Jonathan Delaney, Ryan Samuelson. I don't see him in Discord.
It looks like he may have lost internet because he's showing offline.
Yeah, Craig Fryer throughput level fell to unacceptable. I can't even speak. Greg Fryer received throughput fell to unacceptable level. That's out of the session, the iRacing session. He was still in just a moment ago. So I believe his internet may have gone out. It's unfortunate, but Greg Fryer, if you go back and you watch this broadcast, congratulations on your second place finish, buddy. It was a phenomenal run, and you put on a great show for us.
Yep.
Cody, why don't you take our race winner, Dustin Schwingle?
Dustin Schwingle, this is Cody up in the BurdVision TV booth. You got a copy?
I do. Hey there, Cody.
Hey there. So, another win. Second win of the IROC series. So that has to lead some great momentum. And from what I understand, you may be coming out of this race with the points lead.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be close. The those other guys were up there leading a lot of laps, and there's a lot of bonus points given for laps led. So it might kind of even out at the end of the day. We'll just have to see when the points get posted.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, another great race. Sorry. Seeing Craig Fryer going to your inside going into 3 and 4, that had to cause a little moments of that word is, pandemonium, being 3 wide going into a final turn. Walk us through your thought process going into that corner.
Yeah, I'd watched him look to my inside and even make a couple moves earlier in the race. And you know what? To be honest, I wasn't expecting it on the last lap. I thought I was just battling Kevin in the 7 car on my outside. And so yeah, he caught me by surprise. I think everybody kind of washed up a little bit. Unfortunately, the 7 probably got the worst of it as I pinched him towards the wall. But was of course happy to make it out of there alive and in the lead.
Absolutely. Andre, you got anything to add?
I want to ask, what is your outlook going into the final couple of races here? We got a road course coming up, and that is obviously something that I think for a lot of these drivers is a bit of a challenge. But you've shown that you're very capable on these road courses. And walking away from this week with the points lead, how confident are you in maintaining this momentum?
We'll just have to see. To be honest, road courses aren't my forte, but I do have a little bit of experience at Lime Rock Park, so we'll just have to see, how far that gets me.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck going forward and congratulate you on your win tonight. It was a fantastic showing, and man, we just loved watching this race up in the booth. We were having a great time with the show you guys were putting on, and this is one of the races I got to go back and watch just because you guys were battling out, trading the lead every lap. It seemed like you led a lap, then Kevin Steele led a lap, then you led a lap, and it was awesome. But before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank for this win?
Yeah, I got to thank the 100% IROC series for putting this this whole show on, and I got to thank you guys and the broadcast team for getting this out to the viewers.
All right. Thank you, Dustin. Again, congratulations, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again next week.
Thank you.
All right, and that was our top 4 finishers, and it looks like Craig Fryer has rejoined. So why don't you say we let him finish his interview real quick, Andre? Since we haven't talked.
Oh, yeah. You want to pull him in?
Craig Fryer, this is Cody up in the booth again. You got a copy? Oh.
Nope, he's back.
Okay. Well.
All right. Doesn't want to interview. That's fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, this was quite a race, Cody. It was, I think going in, we looked at the entry list. We saw 6 drivers total, and we thought, man, this might be a bit of a snoozer, but it turned out to be anything but. I think this has been one of the best races of the season, and it definitely, I think, raises the excitement level going into the last few races with how close the points picture is and just all that's been going on. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a shame to miss next week, unfortunately. Have a 24-hour race to compete in, doing the night shift. So, unfortunately, we won't be able to cover Lime Rock Park, but we will be back for the season finale at Talladega. It's going to be interesting to see how the points shake up after next week. That's 100%. See what I did there? Sure, certain.
Absolutely. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us here at the BurdVision TV broadcast booth. Thank you for tuning in. And as Cody said, we're not going to see you next week. The 24 Hours of Daytona is going on, and Cody is going to be competing with a few of our buddies on a team. So that'll be pretty exciting. Cody, do you have any plans of streaming any of your perspective of that race, perhaps?
Yeah, I'll probably be streaming between here. Haven't decided if I want to stream on YouTube or another platform yet. Still trying to decide what's going to be the best option. Probably going to be doing through YouTube. Definitely liking the platform. So it will be up on BurdVision TV for next week. And hopefully you'll be able to tune in and see me, Bryson Hixenbaugh, Cameron Stone, and our friend Mason Lowry compete.
I'll be looking out for it. Again, to the viewer at home, thanks for tuning in. And we will catch you for the season finale 2 weeks from now of the 100% IROC series.
Have a good night. And we're clear.
All right.
I stumbled.